State of the Union seating planners troll Ted Nugent, put him next to gay civil rights activists from Portland. After all that brouhaha over Ted Nugent, you know, the guy who threatened to kill President Obama, getting invited to the State of the Union by Representative Steve Stockman from Texas, the hard-talking, gun-toting rocker was seldom seen throughout the evening. But the one photo of Nugent that did make the rounds was publicized not from Stockman's camp, but rather from that of Representative Earl Blumenauer of Oregon, the congressman who invited Nugent's seatmate, Portland musician Thomas Lauderdale. Lauderdale is best known for founding the so-called Little Orchestra known as Pink Martini. He is the anti-Ted Nugent, a liberal, Occupy movement supporting, openly gay civil rights activist who favors gun control and loves classical music. What do you think, Richard?
This is an interesting story, and I want to turn to get some perspective from Rich Webster because the folks know we were privileged enough to be part of the press coverage for the State of the Union. We had a nice position in the Cannon Office Rotunda between CNN and MSNBC. Tell you, we're coming up in the world, America. But we ran into Representative Stockman's staffer who was staffing Ted Nugent. And it was a definitely interesting story, but I'm not the one to tell it. Rich, take it away.
Well, it was a super bizarre experience. So, you know, it was probably between 12 and 1 in the morning, and the building had more or less shut down.
But the press was still there.
But some members of the press were still there, probably 2 news organizations. And we wandered around trying to get out of every single exit on the first and second floor of the building. Couldn't find anything. And then this guy kind of like appears out of nowhere, and he's like, "Hey, do you guys know how to get out of here?" We were like, no, all of the exits seem to be pretty shut down. He's like, "Follow me." And he somehow maneuvers us through like this basement labyrinth where we went through, I guess, like the bowels of the
United States Congress.
Got the full tour.
The Congress office building, which was super weird. There was some guy like jamming out to John Legend, like washing towels or something. And out of nowhere, we just show up appear in a garage, and then there's the exit to go out to the road. And you know, at this point, we're like, hey, you know, we're with the Richard Fowler show. We were just covering the event, and we were like, "Who are you with?" He's like, "Oh,
Representative Stockman."
Exactly, Representative
and I'm like,
Stockman.
Wait, and so I think I said, "So wait, Stockman, like the guy who invited Ted Nugent?" And he's like, "Yeah."
Awesome. He's like, "Yeah, awesome. That was so cool."
And he's like, "The press loved him. We took him around."
When you said it was the staffer that was staffing Ted Nugent, though, I honestly thought you were like, we couldn't find the exit, so we shot our way out.
No. But no, it's actually a really hilarious story, and I'm like, that must have been interesting. And he's like, "Oh yeah, the media loved him. They ate him up."
And
yeah, because he's a psychopath.
Ironically, I don't know if this story was maybe only covered on Fox News because there was only one picture of him from the entire event, and it was this one of him looking super uncomfortable next to
don't get your gay germs on me, bro.
Exactly. I mean, he's visibly like leaning away from.
And I think that's not the only story. That's not the only story about Ted Nugent that we experienced in the State of the Union. So for folks who don't know, when you do press at events where the president is, you usually have to go through what we call a pre-clearance or equipment drop, where you bring all your stuff at a preset. You set all your stuff up. They do a security sweep, and you can come back in after the sweep. On our way to do our security sweep, we actually ran into Christina Pelosi, Nancy Pelosi's daughter, on the board of Young Democrats of America. We know each other, and she talked to us about Ted Nugent, and her comment was, "If my mother was speaker, Ted Nugent would never be allowed in the United States in the chamber." She's like, "Why would you allow somebody in the chamber that threatened the life of the president of the United States?"
Yeah, I'm surprised the Secret Service didn't flag him and been like, "Oh, sorry, you've threatened to kill this guy."
I mean, I think the reasoning behind that, and Christine kind of put us onto this, was that you're actually better off just letting him show up and make a fool of himself.
Oh, you definitely are. You're him the microphone.
Than saying
that they wouldn't.
You're banned.
But the Secret Service does investigate all threats against the president, even if they come from
they
crazy
do.
rockers.
They do. I mean, she made I think her point was very valid, like from the political perspective, and from, I guess, the security perspective. You not inviting him in. What he would just been on the television, like, "They didn't let me in. Secret Service trying to stop the president." And he would have got more press.
And then tons more press. And also you run the risk of some crazy dude who's a big Ted Nugent supporter, like showing up and doing something completely crazy.
At least with Ted Nugent in the Capitol, he was under complete and total control.
And it looked like he really didn't do much.
And he was sitting next to...
They totally neutralized him by that bomb.
If you look
I like
at the picture, he's in the second to last row, like up against the wall, basically. He did have an aisle seat, though.
He did have an aisle. I guess an aisle's always better than a window.
Is.
But yeah, I mean, I was surprised. Like, not that Ted Nugent was clearly a non-issue at the State of the Union address, and it wasn't the story, it wasn't the headline. But I was surprised how much interaction the Fowler show had with Ted Nugent supporters or non-supporters or Ted Nugent stories. It was quite interesting. It was
a
rather
lot of Nugent in the Capitol that night.
For us, for nobody else, though, I think. Like, you understand, like, this guy we were randomly in a stairwell, and we met this random staffer who was like, "I'll get you out." I'm like, "Oh, who do you work for?"
I've got the map.
Steve Stockman. I'm like, wait a second. The guy who brought Ted Nugent? He's like, "Yeah, I staffed him." And I said, "Oh, boy." I just want to know how Thomas Lauderdale felt.
I think he probably enjoyed it.
I mean, don't you want it out there in YouTube land want to know and radio land want to know how he felt?
Yeah, I think that's a great point.
Like,
he was probably eating it up, though.
Doesn't seem like a stink person on the Greyhound bus.
So you're saying Ted Nugent smells?
No, but like, look at the photo. Like, if you look at the photo carefully, right? Like, it's like one of those things. Like, look at how Ted Nugent's like. Also, like, it's like sitting next to a stink person on the Greyhound bus or a fat person on an airplane when you're in the window seat.
Yeah.
I mean, look at him. This poor guy's like, "Oh my god."
That's a good picture.
and Ted Nugent's a free, like, he's a big guy. He's not
Ted
small.
Nugent is a big guy.
He ain't small.
That's true.
Ain't nothing small about Ted Nugent, including his supply of guns. He has enough guns to blow up the Taliban. But Rich, I'm done. How do you vote for this political maniac?